All right, all right. Hello, everyone, and now welcome to a game, Romantic versus Starbuck. This game taking place here on Twisted Meadows version 1.9. Camera is off because I am so horribly backlit that you couldn't see my face and you would only see my outline as though I was in some sort of witness protection program. So yeah, not going to be helpful at all. Anyways, let's go ahead and break things down. Romantic spawning as the blue human player here at what I'll call the 8 o'clock position, going up against, well, Starbuck spawning here at what I'll call the 2 o'clock position, full cross spawns here on Twisted Meadows. Let's get to that 2-minute mark where things really become apparent as opposed for those strategies. And the Farsi are going to be opening things up with a fast tech to tier 2. Now, no grunts, no additional headhunters yet. That means that the Farseer is going to be trying to put down pressure. Meanwhile, it is going to be a Mountain King first coming in from Romantic. Not what I was expecting at all. Romantic opening things up with a Mountain King first. Does have Stormbolt. Farseer is still not yet in this fight. And, well, I believe Starbuck may come as a bit of a surprise if he tries to come over with that Farseer. That Farseer is going to get a Stormbolt to the head pretty quickly, as the Farseer is now going to try and pick off some of those low hit point units. There's a Stormbolt onto the Farseer already and trying to get in front, and it's going to try to squeeze him into the forest. And that little bit of additional foresight, knowing, hey, I need to account for that Stormbolt. I cannot be brushed up against the trees. That could spell problems. Meanwhile, that Tome of Agility was, in fact, left behind. Mountain King still trying to test the waters. A Mountain King by himself going up against a Farseer. Not nearly as scary, as the Mountain King gets in a lucky bash there to temporarily stun that Farseer. Now, the Spirit Wolves are going to try and push across inside, as Starbuck is doing exactly what he needs to do. He's buying time for this home and for this tech to tier 2 back at home to become completed. Interesting thing to note, though, he did go for an early war mill, but is training up grunts. So those early grunts may actually benefit from that fast tech to tier 2 by going for that berserker strength. Tier 2 is already nearly done. 2 grunts will be out on the battlefield, and suddenly, those units are just going to be that much stronger. Mountain King does have Boots of Speed now, should be able to chase down that Farseer if he gets close enough. Meanwhile, we still do not see a tech to tier 2, as Romantic is looking to go for an expansion attempt, perhaps on the southern side. However, Romantic knows that the Farseer is still there harassing him, hence the rather large army that he's trying to build, as we're looking at the militia and the footmen making his way down. Starbuck is going to see all of this and pretty much go, and Romantic doesn't care. Romantic doesn't care that the Farseer is here. He does not believe that the Farseer can really do enough to cause problems there. You can see a pendant of energy being picked up by that Mountain King, and now with an additional 100 mana could spell a lot of problems. Militia clearing up all of these medium armored units. There goes another ensnare. Forest Troll Trapper, getting the last hit on that peasant there. Farseer still trying to get to level 2, has not been able to get there as a grunt shows up onto the battlefield. All right, there's a little bit of a bash. Are we going to see another shot there? No. Forest Troll Trapper going to get cleaned up. Footman still trying to engage. There goes another wolf getting taken out as the Forest Troll Trapper gets taken down. All right, so a fast tech versus an expansion here. Not a quick expansion, just a normal run-of-the-mill expansion, as this Spirit Wolf is trying to retreat back now. Mountain King, is he going to engage? Farseer pushing pressure across. Mountain King going up against a grunt. It doesn't look... The grunts... Grunt's still wandering around. 700 hit points, 18 to 21 damage here, as we're looking at the Spirit Wolves perhaps trying to put pressure onto this expansion, which is currently being sped built. Footmen are all nearby here to try and protect these workers. The wolves will just be trying to run straight on through. There's a Staff of Teleportation inbound. Mountain King going to show up to the party. And are we going to see damage onto that Farseer? Yeah, there you are. A little bit of a love tap there. Peasant trying to retreat back. Arcane Tower nearly done. There's a Shockwave first as the Arcane Tower finds that Tauren Chieftain. Mountain King now with level 3, now at level 3. Level 2 Stormbolt. Is he going to try and go after that Farseer there? Going to try and run. Is he going to be able to throw another Stormbolt down? That's going to be the question. And cooldown trying to retreat away, and the Farseer looks like he will be able to outrun getting out of sight. Meanwhile, Arcane Tower has drained all the mana off of that Tauren Chieftain. Wolves are going after here as the Mountain King may try to come back around, perhaps get a Stormbolt onto that Tauren Chieftain instead, or perhaps onto a Grunt, trying to get some lasting damage. There's a healing salve there. There's a bash. There's a Stormbolt. And now trying to get a surround onto that Tauren Chieftain. Tauren Chieftain able to break free as we still see some a little bit of damage. The higher tech of the Orc army being able to get ensnare onto the Mountain King ensures an easy escape. One Grunt going to get surrounded just by pure numbers. More peasants being brought over to try and finish off this expansion, as Starbuck needs to find a way to punish his opponent with that superior tech units. The problem right now is that the Mountain King is at level 3, and with that Pendant of Energy, has plenty of mana to threaten the Tauren Chieftain and the Farseer before they can get higher up in level. Meanwhile, Starbuck does have these spiked barricades back at home, so defensively he's in a good spot. He doesn't have to worry about the Mountain King and the Footmen trying to put pressure right now, but that's not what Romantic's game plan was going to be at all. Romantic's game plan is to go long, let that economic advantage start to translate into a tech and army size advantage, which he should be able to do soon. No tech to tier 2 though at the main hall, as more militia being called on over. Alright, trying to use numbers. Militia, Footman gonna go ahead and engage. Mountain King gets ensnared. We're gonna see a Stormbolt onto the Farseer, and now in comes the militia. This is gonna be a surround here. Farseer gonna be forced to try and use a Scroll of Town Portal in order to get away. He will be able to get away. Mountain King, meanwhile, actually a little bit of a problem. There's that staff, or there's that Scroll of Town Portal. Units are trying to retreat back, and with no guard tower, the Wind Riders and no Water Elemental, the Wind Riders may be able to, well, really spell some problems here. Mountain King, is he going to be able to Stormbolt anything? That is the big question. Mountain King currently a little bit, well, taking quite a bit of damage, down to 300 hit points, getting ensnared, getting trapped. Is he going to be able to finish off anything? There's a Stormbolt. Mountain King, is he going to fall? No, he is not. He's going to use a Scroll of Town Portal in order to get away, and in the meantime, finish off the Tauren Chieftain. Finishing off the Tauren Chieftain. Mountain King going to try to hide in the very far back here. Are the units going to try to dive in? Wind Rider could perhaps try to get a poke in, but the Stormbolt should find itself right there. Stormbolt onto the Wind Rider. Wind Rider taking quite a bit of damage from the Arcane Tower here. That is piercing damage. That is incredibly important as the Mountain King trying to double back around. All right, double backing through. Mountain King is going to get another Stormbolt off. Yes, he does, and he finishes off that Wind Rider there. Important to finish off the Wind Rider, as that Wind Rider would have been able to, if it was able to shake off that damage, come back around and start poking each of these units individually. All right, the Dire Wolves have their eyes set on that Mountain King. Just want to give it a little bit of a love tap. The Mountain King running around in circles. Arcane Tower able to offer protection, but now the main base in trouble. Raiders trying to dive in onto the barracks here. Are we going to see some repairs? Farseer sitting at level 2. I do not. Yes, we do have pillage. So Starbuck, well, racing with pillage, now putting pressure where his opponent is not. And now with so many raiders out here on the battlefield, he should be able to divide and conquer this army. Everything is in melee range, so just try and figure out how to ensnare things down so only your units are, or only some of your units are engaging at a time. This is a sudden shift into mass raiders, as we're looking at the raiders now perhaps moving down to the southern side. All right, Mountain King did heal up a little bit, has one guard tower, but this is looking very sparse now, considering what the raiders are bringing to the table. Tauren Chieftain sitting at level 2 does have Shockwave. We're going to see an ensnare go down here. A little bit more damage. There goes a couple of ensnares. There goes another bit of damage. Tauren Chieftain just trying to slowly rack up damage onto all of these units, as the Mountain King trying to line up another Stormbolt again. Footmen, Militia trying to engage here, and Starbuck is using the strategy, as long as I'm, well, not allowing my opponent to mass up a large army, perhaps I can just pick them off one at a time and then turn all of the economic advantage into well, experience advantage here. Mountain King levels up to level 4. Farseer falls, ensnare onto the Mountain King to prevent the teleportation away. Tauren Chieftain perhaps going to be able to get another shockwave off. 1 footman down, 2 footman down. Tauren Chieftain now access to level 3 with level 2 shockwave, and this is just picking apart all of Romantic's units. 46 supply compared to 39. Romantic losing units one at a time. The Raiders doing exactly what I wanted to see, being able to pick off the units, getting them out of position slowly but surely. Mountain King needs to get resurrected, already resurrected at the tavern apparently, but now the Archmage trying to get added in as well. Tauren Chieftain trying to keep a little bit of distance. Are we going to see some shockwave damage? We could, but no real need for it, as the Raiders are doing more than enough. All of these additional farms, though, minimizing the surface area of this keep. Tauren Chieftain could come across, perhaps line up a shockwave against all of those peasants there. We're looking at more damage still getting added in as the Mountain King shows up to the party. Stormbolt, no, not inbound. Farseer, Stormbolt finding the Tauren Chieftain. Tauren Chieftain going to end up getting surrounded. Raiders trying to come over to offer support. There's the scroll of speed in order to get away. Raider should be able to get away as well. And this is all just tactical training. Starbuck playing his mind out right now, even though he is behind. He is teching to tier 3. That's perhaps for a tiny Great Hall. He needs to clear out a creep camp, a gold mine creep camp, and then place down that tiny hall to make up for the economic advantage that Romantic has. Now, this little bit of reprieve. Romantic knows he cannot let his opponent get a reprieve. As soon as the opponent gets in a reprieve, we could see that tech 2 or that expansion come into play really quickly. Scroll of Town Portal, but it was to the expansion and not to the main base, as the Raiders say, you know what, a 50-50 chance where you teleported to, I'm going to now go after the keep here. Arcane Tower finding the Tauren Chieftain. Little bit of damage coming back across the other way. Peasants and slowly getting taken down. Mountain King shows up to the party. Peasant after peasant is getting lost here. Farseer doesn't have that much mana. We are looking at massive repairs underway. We do not have Masonry upgrade, but the peasants are getting ensnared down. Raiders attempting to take down the keep down to 600 hit points, but holding steady so far as the Raiders are trying to shift to other targets. Mountain King continuing to engage footmen, trying to take this down to 400 hit points, down to 3. Is it going to fall? That is the question. Stormbolt, and just holding on to this barely. Massive repairs as multiple peasants are just trying to keep this up. Raiders may be forced to retreat back. 40 supply compared to 40 as Mountain King now gets up to level 5. Level 5 Mountain King, level 3 Stormbolt is going to be a very dead Farseer. Farseer falls at level 2. And the momentum has now shifted. Tauren Chieftain needs to retreat back. We are at Fortress. We do have Tiny Great Hall, but things are not looking good for Starbuck at all. If he was able to knock down this keep, that would have been a completely different story. Instead, the Mountain King gets up to level 5. Level 5, level 3 Stormbolt on the table. Beautiful hold by Romantic, as well Raiders are now trying to make their way back down to the bottom right hand side here. Quick ensnare onto the Ogre Magi, and now Ogre Warrior, all these units are going to get ensnared as well. Peasants are already moving their way over. Tauren Chieftain bringing that Tiny Great Hall as expected to set up this expansion quickly. All right, will Starbuck be able to get this expansion operational fast enough to make up for that lost economy? Tauren Chieftain is at 4. Farseer is sitting at 2, and very close to level 3. But they're going up against a level 5 Mountain King and now a level 2 Archmage with Brilliance Aura. All right, Archmage bringing things, gonna go shopping. That Archmage with that Robe of Magi does get bonus attack, but could also be given to the Mountain King for even more mana regeneration and mana capacity. That Mountain King, if it goes north of 500 mana, or it gets around 500 mana, I think it would be up to 475. Raiders, however, going to go ahead and, creep jack here. Gonna try and dive on in again. Tauren Chieftain has a bit of mana. Farseer, well, is trying to stand off in the back. Militia now coming back around. Are we gonna see some shockwaves? That Tauren Chieftain needs to get to level 5 to really equal the threat of that Mountain King, and that's what needs to happen. This is interesting. If we look at the Twisted Meadows map, so much of the map has not been cleared out. Tauren Chieftain can easily get to level 5 by clearing out creep camps and perhaps even give level 3 to the Farseer. But that would also give a little bit of reprieve to the Mountain King and the Archmage, as we see the Mountain King now retrain to Thunderclap Stormbolt, no longer having Bash. Raider is going to come across here and say, you know what, let's go ahead and dive on in. There goes a Shockwave. Mountain King comes across. Is he going to, yes, throws down a Thunderclap there, as he is no longer nearby anyone else. Tauren Chieftain trying to fight their way through, finding a good bit of separation, keeping the Mountain King at bay. This is exactly what Starbuck needs to do. Keep that Mountain King out of Thunderclap range, and by removing the Thunderclap, keeping the Mountain King out of good Thunderclap range, suddenly there is no real army to fight against. Farseer does get up to level 3. He's going to be trapped. He's going to Scroll of Town Portal. He is. The Tauren Chieftain needs to back away. Mountain King still has plenty of mana, including another potion of mana, but decides not to throw another Stormbolt. Beautiful play by Starbuck there, making sure to keep that Mountain King out of the equation, keep him out of melee range and out of Thunderclap range, resulting in him just trying to use that level 2 Stormbolt now to focus down units. All right, Archmage will get to level 3 off of this creep camp here. Farseer comes bearing gifts, going to give a clarity potion to the Tauren Chieftain, perhaps even transfer a mana potion as well. That level 2 Shockwave could, break things down. That's exactly what needs to happen. We're looking at 24 workers by Romantic. There's been a lot of call to arms consistently, as Romantic now is sitting at low upkeep, so it's 14 gold a second compared to 20. Raiders trying to push their way in. Mountain King, there's a Shockwave ripping on through. Stormbolt straight up onto a Raider there. Chain Lightning bouncing around. Tauren Chieftain still has a little bit of mana. There's a Thunderclap affecting a large radius of all of those Raiders. Now, they're going to try and retreat back, but this is going to be easy picking. Finally getting that Raider getting shot in the back right there. Hit and run tactics continuing to be used. Economics here, 47 over 82 supply. Perhaps the Tauren Chieftain and the Farseer gonna clear up this mercenary camp, perhaps try and pick up a Forest Troll, Shadow Priest, and get to level 5 on the Tauren Chieftain and the Farseer. That should be the game plan here. Tauren Chieftain also using this time, getting up a Clarity Potion to try and max out on mana. All right, Tauren Chieftain should be a little bit shy, I believe. Are we going to see a hiring of a mercenary? Probably not, since we are sitting at 50 supply. He does not want to go into low upkeep yet. Meanwhile, upgrade, refined gunpowder, going to go into 2-0 upgrades here. We are also looking at 3-1 upgrades for these Raiders. Tauren Chieftain just needs a little bit more, and that would translate to a large, bonus in terms of shockwave damage, dealing 50% more, and perhaps being able to clear out. Look at all of these farms. Could end up supply blocking Romantic if he is not careful. All right, Farseer throws down another tiny Great Hall here, and this expansion could get up and running. But another thing it could do is cause a head fake for Romantic. Romantic knows that his opponent must have an expansion somewhere, but he may not suspect that he has two unless he double scouts. All right, we can see that there's a flying machine right there, and now peasants are going to be trained up trying to start mining gold out of that gold mine. The hit and run tactics of Starbuck, just trying to be everywhere all at once, could spell problems, as we're going to be looking at the Arcane Sanctum taking quite a bit of damage. Well, Staff of Teleportation inbound. Are we going to look at Ensnare? Yeah, Ensnare onto the onto the Mountain King already. Are we going to be looking at more damage getting racked up here? Another Raider about to get taken out. Scroll of Speed. Is it given to the Endurance or Spirit Link being shared with that Mountain King? There goes another Ensnare. Stormbolt, however, finding the back of the Raider again. Now, we are transitioning into Tauren. Starbuck was staying on one base, or staying in no upkeep for so long. He has now been able to jump into mass Tauren. Or, well, I can't say mass Tauren. Spirit Walkers and a Tauren. 2 Tauren with more Tauren being trained up. 3, 4. Okay, I can say mass Tauren. 20 supply in Tauren against the Spellbreakers. Starbuck is getting in front of the Spellbreaker swap by perhaps opening things up with Pulverize. Remember, Pulverize does AoE normal damage against Spellbreakers. Spellbreakers take bonus damage against these Tauren here, so suddenly Romantic needs to reconsider his options. Slow is cast across all of those units, though, so how is all of this going to go down? Tauren Chieftain finds a good scroll or a good shockwave there. Level 4 now on the Farseer. Perhaps Chain Lightning can bounce around, finding those targets again. There's another. The Farseer really needs to just Chain Lightning here and finish a couple of units off, but doesn't target the right unit. Only gets 1 priest in that exchange. 77 supply compared to 61. Romantic, perhaps wondering how Starbuck was able to get into mass Tauren as the main bases have now mined out. We are going into Castle by Romantic. We are going now teching into Griffins, but this tech swap may be a little bit late, knowing that there's only 1 gold mine here with 6.5 minutes of mining left. Plenty of mining here, plenty of mining here, and remember, the Raiders were also able to pillage and get a bit of gold, so that could translate or well, turn the tide a little bit here. Tauren Chieftain coming across here, has 200 mana, should be able to get some shockwaves down. Are we going to see some damage onto some of those units? Just line things up and perhaps hit the Arcane Tower. Well, going to go ahead and finish off all of the farms first, so now we are in fact supply blocked. This Expo down over here on the bottom right is not going to get cleaned up. A couple of peons are going to be lost, but they're just going to go straight back to work as the Taurens now try and retreat. No Scroll of Speed, oddly enough, as the Sorceress is able to slow down a Tauren, and a slow Tauren will just turn into very easy targets for those riflemen. Ensnaring, trying to go straight after all of those units here. Tauren Chieftain now trying to dive across. We're looking at the Farseer in here as well, sitting at level 4. We have a couple of Scrolls of Healing as we see another Shockwave rip on through. Tauren Chieftain down to 70 mana. Mountain King gets up to level 6. Are we going to see Avatar as the Mountain King going straight after the Farseer here? There's a Stormbolt as the Farseer taking a lot of damage. Thunderclap finishes him off. He was stunned, unable to use that Scroll of Healing, and I believe also had that Spirit Link dispelled. By dispelling the Spirit Link, that greatly changed the amount of damage that was taken, as the Riflemen are now trying to keep away as well. Mountain King drops the Pendant of Energy in mid-fight, uses the Potion of Mana, and then joining back in. 63 supply compared to 47, as the Kodo Beast ends up falling here. Alright, 45 supply compared to 35 supply, but it's a solo hero, level 5 Tauren Chieftain going up a level 6 Mountain King and a freshly resurrected Farseer. Farseer could come around. We see, well, a resurrection on the Tauren. The Spirit Walkers with a little bit of mana. Farseer going to be in trouble. Potion of Invulnerability just in time. Tauren Chieftain switches to level 6. And now the Tauren Chieftain, well, a major threat. Farseer needs to be careful. Could easily get taken down. The Spirit Walkers are looking to just try and resurrect more. And perhaps we're going to be getting more. I thought we would have seen more Spirit Walkers trained out of the Tauren Totem to try and resurrect the Tauren that are here. That would be a beautiful use of Spirit Walkers, since there are already Tauren corpses out on the battlefield. These Raiders, the Raiders and the Taurens slowly retreating back home as a Flying Machine, I believe, scouted out this northern position, and Romantic now knows what's up. Flying Machine gets shot down there. What is going to unfold? Wind Riders ready to go. Farseer needs to get some healing salve, heal up, perhaps get a clarity potion as well. Gonna bring one over. There's some more healing salves again. That Spirit Walker could make its way over. Spirit Walker, I believe, needs 400 mana to use that resurrection here, and there are still large corpses. I can't quite tell which corpses are what, but yeah. It's been a while. It's been a long while since I've had to keep track of which corpses are needed for Spirit Walker resurrections. Now, Tauren on the move, has the Clarity Potion. Tauren also, Tauren Chieftain on the move. Meanwhile, other Tauren moving out as well. There is one Spirit Walker that I see, a second Spirit Walker here, as we're about to hit the 26-minute mark. 71 supply compared to 54. Wind Riders perhaps there to try and cancel out the Griffin Riders that are out on the battlefield, but the Raiders with Ensnare should be more than enough to handle that. Potion of Invulnerability, gonna go ahead, try to use up everything and then move out again. All right, Tauren Chieftain, Water Elemental, gonna drop on in. Sorceress, Paladin, here we are. No Staff of Sanctuary that I see, and Romantic knows that this is pretty much an all-in effort, trying to live and fight another day without a decisive victory here is not going to work. Big shockwave to begin the battle. Farseer still continuing the fight. Tauren Chieftain now making its way back around. There's a Chain Lightning. There's a shockwave taking down 2 more units as the Griffins are now getting ensnared, unable to easily get those attacks on. 71 supply compared to 46, and Starbuck is just playing out of his mind right now, playing a beautiful game, going after this backline. All of those sorceresses are now going to get cleaned up as well, as well, the Tauren's getting healed by those scrolls of healing. Thunderclap, massive damage around that Mountain King. Mountain King does have the avatar, but at this point isn't going to be enough to win the battle, as the Tauren Chieftain doesn't even need to use reincarnation for the victory. A beautiful game here, extremely well played by Starbuck, and also getting this double expo here at the 4 o'clock position and that 1 o'clock position, absolutely key in this victory. Very well played. I hope you guys liked it. Let me know what you guys thought about this game in the comments below.